Pops here once again, and wow, what do we got here? Another poison build? 2 in a row? Saying ain't so, Papa Z. What is going on over here? 3 times the action, 4 times the movement speed. Not really. This is the Spark build that I converted into a Cyclone cast on critical strike with 7 teachings poison build, which actually I was reminded of that I created this 17 leagues ago. And thank you to Hersher Versailles. I was just kidding. It's then Hunt 1928. Thank you very much for reminding me that I made this build oh so many moons ago. The league that I made it, I decided to go with Detonate and Ball Lightning of Orbiting. At that time, that's what felt the best. That's what did the that's what did the most damage. This time around, no exception. I tested all them skills, which I'll show you here in a minute, and I felt like the DD and Firestorm of Pelting was the most bang for the bucks. Most bang for the bucks. Sorry, I'm on medication right now. As you can tell, I'm a little bit sick, so my apologies for that. But anyway, this was a super fun build. Let me recreate it in 3.28, and let me see if I can make them slightly different or come up with new ways, new technology to help with damage, speed, clear, all that good stuff. So before we go into the gear section, how are you? How's your day going? Appreciate you being here. All right, so let's go into let's go into the testing first, which I'll show right now why I chose the 2 skills. Guys, no exception, okay? Just like last time, I keep telling you guys this over and over. Don't just look at the PoE numbers, okay? Go by how you feel, okay? How does the build feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel slow? Does it feel immaculate? Does this skill work better than the other skill? Oh, PoE says this one skill I really hate works better. Oh, I better play that. No. Okay, it's not just about efficiency, guys, okay? So check this out. This is 11 different versions. I went up to the Dunes boss. I think that's the easiest one. I put on Firestorm of Pelting plus DD with the level 1 imbued deadly ailments inside of Firestorm of Pelting. And as you can see, right, the boss was killed, DED dead, the quickest, right? The close one behind was a regular Firestorm with the DD, the Val DD, Firestorm, and DD. Okay, so 3 skills instead of 2 was nearly identical, which with this specific build might arguably be the best. So as you can see, the different skills, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go play this again, but this is why and how I decided to go with those, because they felt the best. They did the most damage in this case, but I mean, I was very tempted to actually do this. And like I said, last league I did Ball Lightning and DD. So if we're talking 1 or 2 seconds, guys, on a boss, it's not that big of a deal. All right, go by with what you feel. If you don't like fire skills or lightning, go with cold skills. Find out what skills work the best for you and your needs. Last time I made this build, a long time ago, I had Doriani's Fist, which had curse enemies with temp chains and despair on hit, right? Double corruption, best in slot because it also adds lightning damage to spells while unarmed. I could not find said gloves, and I was not gonna spend 45 tries to get those 2 corruptions in the Val Temple, so I settled for second best. I probably lost like 10% DPS maybe on this, but just regular old standard gentle gloves with the double cursage, right? You could also play around if you want more explosions, because again, we're attacking with Cyclone. You could potentially get yourself one of these. The strength, intelligent attributes are kind of hard on this build. They're very strained, so I decided to go for the int and star strength, but you could also go with these. Now that might be kind of fun if you want to generate rage for some reason. You could also do additional damage because again, temp chains, despair, and now you have crit multi now, or even these. Now, why do I mention crit multi on a poison build? That's because, yup, you guessed it, we're a perfect agony build, so we want as much crit strike chance and crit multi as possible, not dot multi. Okay, let's make that very clear right here, right now. The other notable changes is the Betrayal Sting did not exist in the previous leagues, which this adds so much freaking damage to poison builds. So I feel like almost there might be some exceptions, but for the most part, you always want to have this ring on if you're gonna go poison. When you hit so much so often, you definitely want to get yourself one of these. This one, whoo, that's a beautiful one. Ungil's Harmony, right? It adds critical strikes. Your crit strikes do not deal extra damage. We don't care about that because we're poison. So this one I bought for 5 divine straight up, or it already had the anointment, right? That's the one we're looking for. Vine, Spike, Cordial, inflict Grasp and Vine on hit against enemies with fewer than 8. And this says all damage inflicts poison against enemies with at least 3 Grasp Vines. We want to hit as much and as fast as possible. That's why this time around, this build, instead of, unlike the Spark build, I chose to use these boots and this as my poison applicator as opposed to the previous build, because with here, as soon as we Cyclone, there it is. As soon as we Cyclone on the enemy, we already hit the enemy 3-4 times before our spells that actually do the poison damage actually hit. So we already get these enemies of ours to so many Grasping Vines, so we are already poisoning before the spells even take their course. Wow, that is beautiful now I'm thinking about it. The one that I was going to use initially, I think this was like 150C or something like that, absolutely cheap, half a divine for 466 crit chance instead of the old and standard 354, but I couldn't argue the price for the bang of bucks. That saves us 4 points here, but that's just 4 points, not the biggest of deals. And if you need the critical strike, additional 100%, wow, to reach 100% crit chance on your spells, on your Cyclone, then absolutely go for something like this. Here I got myself just a nice Circle of Nostalgia with chaos damage and chaos resistance, strength, LE damage, and maximum life. Very nice. I was trying to make Onslaught work. Unfortunately, again, because the attributes requirement was too strict, I was not able to get this. All right, going back to the Cyclone, as you can see, I have Excommunicate. Now, I could have grabbed increased area of attack effects, but instead I chose Excommunicate. Why? Well, again, we're in the face of enemies. We're going to be hitting them, bosses, uniques, whatever, and Excommunicated says enemies cannot deal chaos damage. That is pretty nice. So that means that even though, I think our chaos resistance is in the 50s, if you wanted to kind of not worry about chaos resistance, enemies from far away will still be able to range and spell you or with chaos damage, but up close and personal, now they don't do any chaos damage. Hey, that's another defensive layer we don't have to worry about. So I thought that was kind of interesting. As far as the tree goes, fairly standard. I got the Light of Meaning for additional chaos damage. And then the more important one is Elegant Hubris. Once again, I'm such a huge fan of these. We get a power charge on crit strike, so we get them very quickly. Eternal Flow, we hit so often, yes. And then gain one, again, up close and personal. So we have all 3 charges up and running basically as soon as the map starts. For jewels, you want to look for something like this, right? Fire damage, crit multi with elemental or fire, life, resistances. Because even though we have a Bismuth Flask and an elemental additional resistances flask affix, we are still running low on resistances. So as you can see here, more resistances and more and I think I'm almost I'm slightly overcapped, right? But it was a struggle. So we utilize a ton of uniques in this build, so getting resistances up and running is a challenge. All right, that's all right. Thank you very much once again for watching. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't be a stranger, say hi or something. I'll see you guys later on another beautiful build.